Have you played the game Cyberpunk 2077?
Oh, no, I haven't. It was on my wish list, to be honest, but I sort of got hyped when the trailers came out, but once it started pre-ordering, uh, I sort of thought that's not a good policy, like in games development in general, but then I was like, "Phew, thank God I didn't buy it because there were like a lot of bugs and a lot of negative reviews." So, yeah.
Yeah, I just played some 2 hours playing it with a friend. It's the second time like we meet and play the game together, try to get through the campaign. And some of the storylines are pretty good. I don't really appreciate like the combat, which is like just shooting things. I'm more
Yeah.
like with swords and with magic. I like that better. But the storylines are okay. The graphics are very good. And I'm really surprised that my PC can do like pretty high settings for it because it's really not that new. It's like 6-year-old PC, but really good 6-year-old PC. But still, it can do really good graphics because it uses one of those new technologies where you render the game in 720p, and then
Hmm.
it's like very smart upscaling to full frame. So I have a 1440p screen, so it's a very high resolution screen. It's less than 4K, but it's pretty high resolution. And the game gets rendered at 720p, and then it gets upscaled 4 times. So it runs in this small screen in high settings, and then it moves up to big screen, and it still looks very good. So it's very great that with my pretty old
Uh,
GPU it can do that.
have you played any other CD Projekt Red games?
Witcher I played.
Yeah, and did you enjoy it? Were you on the hype train of Cyberpunk?
I never liked like the futuristic type of game, so I was never on the hype train. But I think The Witcher is the best game I've ever played. I think it's the best game ever made. So I'm pretty clear on that. I think it really is. I think it's something about the storylines because a lot of these games, they're not really games. They're like movies, more like
Yeah,
movies. And it's a very good movie, the Witcher
yeah,
series. And
I
it's
can I can agree with that. I finished it once, and I started it the second time, and I got almost to the very end, like to the almost very end, and the stories and I mean the side quests, they differ so very from like your mainstream RPGs, which are like fetch quests. But these every single side quest has like this little small storyline which is unique, and you don't know how it will end or how it will impact the story because it does both things. And I just liked riding around the landscape, which is beautifully made.
yeah,
So I sort of like I was hopeful for Cyberpunk, but it's like it's too beefy for my computer, and the initial reviews discouraged me from
you know,
further interest.
I think you should give it a try because initially you have three options about which path do you take in the game, and it's only like a 20-minute intro. So the only thing that changes depending on your path is like a 20-minute intro,
Hmm.
but um, but they're pretty well made. Those intro paths. So uh, I was because of them I got a bit like hooked to play a bit more. So if you have ever the time, I should recommend to check out this intro part of some of the three parts.
Okay, I would love to. Still think my PC can't handle it. Maybe with some friends someday. Yeah.
You can come to my place and we can play
Oh,
it.
okay. Oh, you played at your place, yeah?
Yeah. Here. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, then maybe someday after a run.
Okay. Uh, the first story is pretty crazy. I think you reordered the stories, right?
No, not
Okay,
really.
so then I put it at first. Not sure. Okay, let's just roll with it. So
Yeah.
in China, they like to do some construction. Did you see this story beforehand?
Maybe.
Okay. Well, maybe.
I don't
Oh.
think it's the same story, but I've heard about like the China
Maybe this
construction.
picture rings a bell for you. So this is what happened in
Oh
China.
no.
A building collapsed just on its side, and it's completely intact in all other ways except that it fell over.
Oh my God. It seems like it was built that way. No, I've heard of like a lot of Chinese ghost towns that I think the problem was that the Chinese government, based on its economy, like the how well it did, they created, invested a lot of in like these buildings and these towns, which no one inhabits and no one wanted to buy after some time, and so they sort of overcalculated their usage, and now it's like China has like a lot of ghost towns,
Mm.
and it's
Yeah.
not like small ghost towns. It's like several story buildings, and it's like yeah, kind of
Yeah.
creepy.
I think it's very creepy. They're really into construction, and they have a big, like a construction crisis because of credit. They took out a lot of credit internally, and looks like they're not able to pay it all back. And you know how these things happen when property developers take out credit to develop new property, but it works as long as the prices go up, because when the prices start to go down in a crisis, uh, the credit is collateralized on the property value. But if the property value goes down, then the credit is no longer collateralized. And that's where you have a very big financial crisis, because the loans that have been given out have no basis for them, so they cannot be repaid because the value for what they were put against has declined. So,
What does it mean to collateralize
well,
credit?
it just I gave you like 1 million. Um, you uh, if you will not be able to give me it back, I will give you this building. So I presume that this building is worth 1 million, for which I give you this money.
Okay, I still didn't get it, Turtle.
Yeah, well, yeah, so it's basically in Latvian like a chila. Uh, so what you
Oh,
put
okay.
up against the money. So why should somebody give you money? So what will happen if you don't pay it back, and so
Okay,
on.
yeah.
And yeah, a lot of loans are against like the real estate, and if the real estate value starts to decrease, you're no longer able to repay the loans if you're not like living there, if you're developing the property, and you're developing the next property by taking another loan.
Yeah, but you're no longer to pay out the loan in the same price range. You need to pay out more. Yeah?
You have to pay whatever you took as a loan, but when you took the loan, you had assumptions what the property value will be. But if it has decreased, then you can no longer pay it back.
Oh, no, you just pay back more, I think. Well, that's just my reasoning. I'm just guessing. I'm trying to wrap my head around the logistics,
Um,
like economic
yeah.
logistics.
So China has a big property. Well, well, it's both like a bubble, like a financial bubble, and some of their big banks have started to like fail, uh, and so that there's a bit of an issue with them. But anyway, so related to this, so this building just collapsed. It would be really nice if it was like a funny story, but I think there's no way people did not die from
Oh,
this.
they have people living there.
I think so, yeah. Like,
Oh, Jesus.
yeah.
The son of 13 started block crashing to the ground, but the fatal accident may prove a bigger wake-up call for the construction industry. Okay.
Maybe they did not live there. It's not. Maybe it's not. Oh no, maybe they did not live there. Oh, that's good. That's
It
good.
sparked an outrage among the 500 home buyers, many of whom almost invested their life savings in the Lotus Riverside project and demanding full refund and compensation. Okay. So it looks like it was a project in making.
Oh, that's good.
Phew. I almost always feel bad at like making a joke at something that turns out to be a very tragic.
Well, good that they would be refunded, because they will only be refunded in China. Because if this would happen in like Latvia, they would not be refunded. I say you 100% about that.
Mhm.
Because you paid the money, you won't get it back. But in China, the government says no, have to give back this is bad job. And they just, okay, we give back.
So if I understood this correctly from my economics class, like there are several ways you can measure a country's GDP, and one is your production rate. And so the the heightened production of all these like ghost towns and buildings has like showed an increase in China GDP over several years, but it's actually a long-term. Well, they're shooting in their own leg, as it seems, because no one is buying the buildings, no one is living in the towns, and now it seems like they are making those buildings very subpar and low quality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I guess in the big cities, some of them are living. But okay, but switching to Latvia. Latvia made international news last week. Have you seen have
It's
you
another
seen
car.
have you seen this video?
Yes, yes, I have. I think you showed it to me.
Okay, because this video made me laugh so hard. Like I think I haven't laughed so much I think in a long time.
Yeah.
I was just laughing
Oh
and
no,
laughing
I
and
think
laughing.
either. Okay, I don't remember who showed it to me, but it's funny because like it had to be exactly that car, in exactly that angle for it to like hit that small target, which are the stairs going down to the Daugava.
It's amazing. It really is like top unlucky.
Yeah,
It should
because like if it was a car next to it or on the other side, I think it would have like hit the post or hit a little fence.
and like it crosses like four paths for
Four
cars, four
lanes, yeah,
lanes. And
and the
no,
sidewalk. I mean,
I think it went down into the river pretty like calmly. I think without much like drama. Oh,
yeah,
I didn't see this part. Oh wow, I did not see this part. It was
it
cut.
looks so serene.
Oh wow. Oh, this is new for me. This is amazing. It just it just drives away. It's just I'm going to the sea.
Yeah, it's like I'm tired of you driving me all
Oh,
day, every day. I've
uh,
always wanted to be a boat.
I'm so sad this was cut from the Reddit because Reddit got like top post in Reddit this video from Latvia, but this last part was cut off. Yeah, imagine being there on the sidewalk and just looking at that. You're like, oh, gee, hope nobody's in there, because like you could not be sure whether is somebody in there or not, right? Like
Yeah.
they might be trying to get out. You might feel, oh my god, somebody's going to die there, and so on.
Well, it looks like someone stopped, and I
Called.
hope they tried to call someone.
I think so. Yeah, I think in Latvia people do call the police if they see a car in the river.
You made it sound like it's an like a frequent occurrence.
Yeah. Okay. Meanwhile, in Turkey, people like to rescue stray dogs. This post has been removed from
Hmm.
humans being bros. Okay, well, don't know why would it ever be removed, but here's a nice video of people trying to rescue a dog, which is, I guess, nice.
Yeah, I love dogs.
A pretty river, like.
I forgot where, but I saw a similar video recently. I think it was maybe in India somewhere that there was an overflooding of a canal, and there was this huge. It's not a forklift; it's like this excavator, and the excavator like hovers its leg down the river. It has a person inside, and it's like they see the dog coming from afar, and it's like a huge current, and yeah, they rescued also the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Riga police got drones now.
Yep, like I was watching this video of Riga police with drones, and honestly, I got a bit scared because the last time I've seen videos like these were of Ukraine. You know, I haven't seen a lot of drone footage because I imagine like just bombs going down or tanks. Because I've been looking on a lot of combat footage from Ukraine and it looks the same. It's just far up, pretty good quality, and these like pans right to the left of drone footage, and they're like and stuff like that. So got a bit of PTSD from this video.
Yeah, I can see the correlation.
Do you know this place?
By heart, no. I don't recognize the street.
It's very close to you, like no, not very close, but it's pretty close. Like it's the bridge, not the one that's next to you, but towards me. Not the first, but the second bridge, big bridge over railway.
The Gustavo Zemgala bridge?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know how they're all called. I think so. Yeah, it's that bridge. But that's okay. Okay, so what do you think of police having drones?
Oh, why not? Why not earlier? I think the technology has been there. Does it really contribute that much to, to information gathering and to...
Well, they're using this for aggressive driving. You see, there are some people that are... you see this car, which, how do you tell, it's passing over the traffic jam, which is it's by law considered aggressive driving.
Okay.
And so it's illegal, and there's no way the police can detect it by sitting there, right? Because everybody will see that there's police, and no one will do it, right? So instead they put up a drone and they look at it.
Yeah, someone is driving that drone. It's not like automated.
No, not automated. I don't know. I think this might not be the best like example because, like honestly, in this situation, like doing what they're doing, like it's not the worst thing to do in the world. Of course, like it's annoying if you're like in a traffic jam and waiting for a long time and somebody's doing this, but I don't think it's like the worst type of crime. There sure are like worse crimes they could try to catch.
Well, that's the thing. I'm thinking like maybe in some big cities like London or LA, you can scout for like aggressive, not like aggressive drivers, but someone who's done like a crime of robbery and trying to get away. You can catch up to them with this light flying drone. But in Latvia, I don't think there are so many crimes that need like aerial scouting.
Imagine if we had so many crimes we need aerial scouting. That would be really bad.
Better not. That would be bad. We would be living in like a different country then.
Oh, I did not queue up this video because I was a bit too lazy, but I wanted to add it to our podcast. Have you seen the video from China lockdown?
The one with the robot dog?
The one with the drone in the sky.
Oh no. Yes, control your soul's desire for freedom.
Yeah.
I've seen a similar video only with a dog, a robot dog, walking down the street and chanting the same slogan.
It's like a really bad translation because the way it's translated, it seems horrible. It's like
it seems poetic almost.
Seems like really bad, you know. In Latvia and in the Western countries, you got better like public relations. You're saying, oh, so other people are safe. Please be respectful and wear a mask. And here, like, close the window. You will be prosecuted. Contain your soul's desire for freedom.
So, what is this about? Because I haven't been keeping up with COVID updates. There's a new wave in Shanghai.
I think this thing is so. Of course, it's tragic, but it's also a bit like amazing, and I'm in the way that it's so metaphorical. there's this thing called like the winner's curse, like
The winner's curse?
yeah, like the winner's curse.
The winner's curse?
Yeah.
Okay.
The idea is like you're doing things and you're like winning. You're doing the things and you're winning. They try to do like zero COVID, and they had zero COVID, and they were so successful at zero COVID for 2 years. Everybody else failed. They did it with the same idea. Let's do zero COVID. So they were so successful at zero COVID that when Omicron came around, they're still doing the same thing. They do not understand that you have to change strategy. They're just sticking with the same strategy, zero COVID, but it can no longer be done. But they're not adapting, they're not changing it. They're still forcing the zero COVID when it's impossible to do so.
And Omicron is a much lighter variant. It's more, how do you say it? It's sticky? No, but
Infectious.
infectious, more infectious, yes. It spreads more rapidly, you can say. But it's a lighter version. And I mean, at first I thought that maybe they are like lying about their numbers, about their COVID cases. But apparently they weren't.
I think they were lying, but they were also very successful.
It's still very so dystopian.
Yeah, it's also so stupid. Like even us, like we're not any like scientists or policy makers. We're just like regular people. We're looking at it and we understand it's completely stupid, but they can't admit it. It's like 1 billion people there in China.
You can maybe quickly search for that robot dog. It was the same thing. There was this like from this Boston robotics sort of looking robot dog. Yeah, this one. Broadcasts anti-pandemic measures in eastern China.
Crazy stuff. Oh, it was like a loudspeaker just tied to it with some duct tape.
It's with some duct tape.
I think it is the same robot. It's the Spot robot. Yeah. Imagine a robot like that coming up to you and you're doing it. It will be so scary.
Yeah, and like it not leaving you until you sort of put your mask back on.
This reminds me of what we talked last time was about those anti-bomb robots.
Oh yeah, Jesus, that's so uncivil. Like,
yeah, they're just like keep annoying homeless people until they leave. Like, go home.
go home.
Yeah.
Is like, go home. Is that a bad joke?
Yeah.
Go home. This is my home.
What do you think? How the Chinese will get out of it? Will they change their mind or will they stay with the same thing?
You mean stay with the same strategy?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been informed very well in that. I've been how do you say? I've been missing all the recent information about the COVID pandemic, and so I can't really say for sure. I mean, I can guess. After a while, they should change their policies because the rest of the world has like adapted to it, changed, and they can scout for better implementations of restriction rules.
Yeah.
That's just my guess.
Yeah, I think so. I think they will adapt as well. It just doesn't make any sense not to do so. Yeah. Okay, so we have a discussion topic.
We have a discussion topic. I wanted to discuss this because I was reading some news, which I put in also at the very end. The news were about why so many American teenagers are sad and depressed. And there will be, if we get to the post, there will be some reasons that we can see. But while I was reading it, I was thinking, would I rather have been born like 10 years later, with like with all this technology and all this source of information and the ability to like uh, how do you say, be so well in touch with modern technology that it's much easier than the previous generation? Or would I rather been born 10 years earlier and maybe be one of the boomers, uh, or maybe have me, like, I just know a couple of friends who are in their 40s, and people who are born in like 80s, they seem much more resilient, much better composed, and well read. They seem more educated. They seem more patient, more driven, and still they don't have any difficulty with modern technology. They can pick it up very quickly. As for example, 10 years later, my generation, we have some like we I think we were born in a very, how can you say, comfortable time, and that the previous generation, they had more difficulties growing up, and that's why they are more resilient. And so, yeah, I was thinking, like, are there any positive sides to being born 10 years later, like if I was born in 2001 instead of in 1991? Yeah, what do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah. For me, uh, yeah, it is so that I grew up, let's say, those formative years when you're like, I think you're 11, 12, 13. I think one of the most impactful years. uh, the, of course there are many impactful years, but I think they're one of them. And a lot of, I think, my life kind of defined that I spent a lot of time like trying to, let's say, learn technology and learn programming. And those years of, for me at least, 2006, 2007, they were like the birth of internet. It was at the very, very, very beginning. So I got to experience time before YouTube, actually. I got to experience the time where there were multiple forums. There were a lot of like local websites. Like now everything is consolidated into Reddit, into Instagram, into Facebook, and so on. Things are extremely consolidated. But at 2006, 2007, 2008, everything was like really spread out. There were multiple web pages you went to check on different topics. Of course, people now do that as well, but it was more pronounced. Also, the like forums. There were forums for everything. There were a lot of Latvian forums. There were geocaching Latvian forums. There were Counter-Strike Latvian forums, and the people went there to discuss stuff. I think there's now still a few forums left, but people don't use them. People just use Reddit. So, and also it was, I think, very like exciting that birth time of internet, because you were like finding all this like new information where other people were not doing it. And at least I was like really into the internet thing, so I was really kind of ahead of some like other people around me. It was like very interesting for me how those technologies were. For example, there were still like the old programming tutorials from V3 schools that I read, and especially podcasts. I feel really happy that I was from the very beginning of podcasting. I actually was there. Like it was before YouTube. There was this website called Podcast Alley, and I had all the podcasts. It was 2006, around that. So I got really into some of the podcasts that were around then and listened to a lot of them and learned English through them. There's some really crazy stuff because it was before like cancel culture, before crazy like liberalism. People said so crazy things in those podcasts, like really crazy. That would be completely unacceptable.
I think there were like less regulations on the internet.
It was insane that the podcasts at that time, at least especially one of them that I listened to,
You can speak about very fringe topics.
Yeah. Like it was not mainstream in any way. It was, yeah. It's like you say. It was really freedom, a lot. Also, I guess in some bad ways. But I was like small. I did not really care about those ways, and I think I kind of like that, because if I think about growing up 10 years earlier, it would not be possible because it would be introduced later to me, and I would have done like my first, let's say, programming things that I would have learned would be in university on some mainframe computers, computer class. I would not have like a personal computer because I was
Mhm.
actually at that time where a family could have like one computer. So that was possible. But 10 years earlier, it was not possible, and then 10 years later already all the things are already like figured out. So in a sense, there's already all the different culture, all things are already consolidated. There's already like Facebook, there's already like YouTube established. All the gaming is also established. Yeah, I guess it's just from one point of view, just from the technology point of view. That's my
Yeah.
view.
But it sounds like you grew up with technology and it sort of was almost like a center to your experience.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I guess it
Well,
was something like to hold on to something that I felt interested in.
but that's very good. Look how it turned out. I mean, who would have thought that technology would progress so quickly and in such directions? Yeah. For me, I think I was sort of uh, not attached, but like introduced very early on to technology and computers. But it wasn't like through forums or the internet. It was mostly through video games and torrents, and like you can pirate movies and pirate music for free. Um, but like I said, I have these couple of friends who are pretty much 10 years older than me, and I guess I can see that they have much different value systems than me. For example, some of them don't really, uh, not want to say worship technology in a way, as in that could be bad, but they understand the uh, implications that the technology has made on their lives through time, and the implications of their early childhood, which had almost no technology, which was what, like radios and later TV sets. They grew up in maybe small towns. They knew how to socialize. They knew how to make friends. They knew how to challenge themselves in the outside world, and a lot of them have a very how can you say, not even not like business driven thinking, but the way they conduct themselves, they have a larger vision for themselves in their lives, and it's larger because they don't think so globally, which, on the other hand, I find myself thinking sometimes, maybe sometimes too often, that my life expands like more globally because I have this access to this network, this global network. But actually, my life is much smaller. My circle of friends and like family is much smaller, and so this thinking that maybe my life is bigger than it is, it's detrimental to what I uh, may be wanting to achieve. On the other hand, I can see some people who are born 10 years earlier, they have like big plans, but they are small, big plans, but they are, how can you say, the steps they take to achieve those plans are very realistic and manageable. And for example, in their time, they may have been, there may have not been information technology, but there was like electronics and communications. And when the information technology developed, they had a platform in electronics or communications that they can which build upon next. Uh, as in, we have this huge library of information, and we are the first wave of humans that are experiencing it. Those who are born 10 years later, I think they have easier time, sort of. I'm guessing they have easier time acclimating to the overwhelming information. But sometimes I don't know what to do with all this information. I feel like I have sort of responsibility that I have access to this information, but I don't know what to do with all that information. That I should do something with it, but I don't know what to do with it.
Okay, I have a question for you. Do you think for people, let's say that are 10 years or so older than you, how much of that, let's say, maturity could be because they are 10 years older? Maybe you'll be similar after 10 years.
Maybe. I'm hoping so. That's a good point. I didn't think about it that way. Because I think maybe my mind runs a bit faster forward than like my body or my actual experience can catch up. And the other thing is I've always sort of liked older friends, or sort of found how can you say, more interesting company in older people, like 10 years older than me, or like much older people. And so I wind up comparing myself to them and seeing how I uh, underachieve, or like don't match up to the expectation that I have made for myself based on their image. And so maybe in 10 years I will be in a similar or better place. But what do you think about the young people who are born 10 years later than you?
I had another comment. I think you're very accurate about, let's say, resilience, and I think it's something very, let's say, unique to Latvia and to post-Soviet countries, because like growing up in the 90s was the most difficult time. So like I experienced like 12, 13 years in 2006, 2007. So they would experience 12, 13 years in 96, 97. So it was very hard time for Latvia, for Russia, for Ukraine, and all the post-Soviet countries. It's much more like poverty and lack
Much
of
more
opportunity, crime.
more gangs.
Yeah, especially I think crime. Yeah, gangs.
Yeah.
And because they did not have that internet, they didn't have really like an escape, and that's why it was a lot more like brutal in many ways.
Can I comment? I think it's also escape, but also education.
Yeah.
Because internet provides you the possibility to educate yourself.
Yeah, 10 years later, about the 10 years later, the spooky thing is seeing like toddlers with like iPhones. And you're like looking at it, and I'm not like those people who are like afraid of technology. I'm so pretty open, but I'm not sure what will happen, right? I'm not like a default assuming it will be bad for them. I'm not default assuming it will be great for them, but it's a bit of like an open question. Like when a child spends all their life looking like at a phone from childhood, like that should have like some kind of impact, right? But at the same time, we can say the same about television, and television is even more stupid. How much time did you spend as a kid on a television? Well, it depends, right? But a lot of us spent a lot of time there. But about the television, in some sense it's more stupid, like because there's no feedback. But in some sense it's better because at least some adult is setting up like some kind of a program, right? They're picking something reasonable. But when you're on your own, when the algorithm rules you, it might not be anything reasonable or good for you.
Yeah. Um,
So that's my
I,
yeah.
I wanted to make a comment about Yeah, about your observation that you're seeing little children with iPhones and Androids, and they are already learning this platform, this space, uh, and I remember that when I was younger, I sort of got into audio, video, and like visual editing, which was like Adobe Photoshop when it came out, and like Sony Vegas. I got into that video editing, and when I was growing up, the theme for young people was that if you sit at your computer and you do all this like computer stuff, that you're a geek, that you're a recluse, you're like sitting alone, and you're not doing anything productive. And there was this stigma attached to it, attached to the things that I enjoyed doing, which I probably stopped doing because it wasn't. I couldn't see the opportunities that lie ahead for me if I continue expanding upon this knowledge of video and photography editing. Instead, I saw this stigma that it's like it's useless. It's just for fun what you're doing, and you should invest in other things like go out, maybe read a book. And we talk about this with one friend, which saw something similar in his growing up, that his parents discouraged him from learning about this technology, learning from these experiences, which was associated with digital media, with information technology. And now, when he looks back, he went on to study carpentry, and he now looks back and he sort of regrets that he didn't continue upon his passion of like researching this computer science. And so I think in some way the exposure to social media, at least, should be limited to a certain age, but the introduction of this technology should be encouraged for younger people. So there is a lot of research that shows that social media is detrimental towards younger people, but the fact that social media is just a small portion what this technology gives you, it shouldn't discourage younger people from researching like computer sciences, information technology, modern communication, and so on.
Yeah, there's a friend I recently started to get to know, which was a pretty interesting, like, let's say, history. But I did not ask him much questions. But when I met him, he's really interested into electronics, and he's also like teaching electronics, and that's why we had some like common interests, and we started, let's say, to hang out together. And then I asked him like, what did he study? Like, expected him to study like something computer science related, and he studied in the art academy for pottery. And I'm like thinking, like I don't know any details, but maybe he also had similar pressure or something against technology, and maybe he only later in life like maybe started to do it, even if he would have liked to start it earlier. Well, it's just a guess, just a fantasy, who knows. It's just that many things are possible. Yeah, I don't know, honestly. I think it's the generation that's like 10 years later. I think they're pretty stupid, but that's because they're 10 years younger, right? I just look at it, oh my god, you guys are so stupid. But, I think after 10 years they will not be as stupid, so.
Yeah, I'm guessing you had a good point there. The 10 years is a pretty huge gap, and a lot of people will catch up.
But I think you have a good point about that the generation that was 10 years before us were more like resilient and they were more established outside of the digital sphere. Like they
Yeah,
completely established themselves as persons up to, let's say, 18 years old without it. And then
yeah.
they added it on top of it. But for example, for me and for you, we established ourselves without it up to, let's say, 10, 11, 12 years, which is also pretty good. At least up to that point, you were comfortable without any, let's say, internet and so on. So because
Yeah.
I also had to like go outside and learn how to meet friends up to like 11, 12 years old because I didn't have any like internet options or anything like that. I was like bored all the time because I did not have like some iPad to distract myself with. I think that was really good for me, even though it sucked. But only up to that age, so maybe there would have been some benefit if I was also, let's say, robbed of like technologies up until 18 years, or maybe it would have been like worse for me. Maybe it was just like made my development worse because I wouldn't have, let's say, those opportunities to look elsewhere if, let's say, going out was not as successful. Uh, who knows?
Yeah. Sometimes you need to embrace the suck. It makes you a better person. But yeah, okay. Um, have you anything else to add to the discussion?
No.
Yeah, I think we closed pretty decently.
Heat pumps.
Oh yes. So was this my theme?
Yep.
I totally forgot about this one. Let me see.
We can just like discuss it a bit without any, let's say, um, in-depth information. Just I know a lot of people who have these heat pumps. Well, not a lot of people, but a few people who have them, and I've heard like good reviews that it's like a good technology. But that's about it.
Yeah, well, I wanted to read about this, but I didn't. So let's just discuss this briefly, because the only thing that else I knew about it that it works similarly to a refrigerator, and it uses the Freon gas, and it somehow uses the difference in temperatures from where it's at and from where it uh,
So
not
so there are two pieces of, let's say, some kind of metal that conducts heat. One is, let's say, underground, and the other is like near the top of the surface. And using this difference, it generates electricity.
I'm guessing so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hmm.
and as I know, it's just cheaper. It's a cheaper version in long term for your how like your heating appliances for your house. And yeah, I mean I don't know anything else.
Okay, let's do some more research on this and then go
Yeah,
to this next time. So your next topic was lightning ancient world.
was that my one?
I think so. No?
Encyclopedia. Hmm? No, this wasn't mine.
Huh. I think maybe I put this as a topic, but I forgot like why I put it. I think it was during like the week because sometimes I get like oh yeah, no, this was my topic. Sorry, I just forgot about it. I can let's say explain some stuff. So this is really interesting. Actually, I was reading an article about I was figuring out like light bulbs, right? And like now when we're in the dark, we have like light, and the light bulb was not invented that long ago. It was about like 100 years, maybe a bit more, 150 years ago. And I was like thinking, but what did they use before that? Because you know, in like Latvia in the winter, it's only about 6 hours of daylight, and a lot of people lived in the caves, and caves are very dark. Like people lived in a lot of dark places. Just imagine being in old times. Inside, it's all dark. Everything is dark. Like I was like, wow, I never thought about it. Everything is dark. Like they did not have like lights. But I know, okay, they did have
They have
candles.
candles,
But
yeah.
did they use the candles all the time? Imagine how much light do you use. Did they have? Did they? But it's hard to make a candle. They did not have enough, like let's say, to eat sometimes. Why would they always have a candle, right?
Yeah.
Of course, like in Latvia, we have wood. We have a lot of wood. We can just burn the wood. But in a lot of places in the world, they don't have like wood to burn. I'd say most places. So we're very fortunate in that we have so much wood. And then they would have to make candles.
I
Also,
think
yeah,
they used also like oil lamps, no?
yeah, oil
When
lamps
did
as
the oil
well.
lamp was
Well, it's also
discovered?
very old. So oil lamps and candles very old. So they're used from antiquity. Then petrol lamps with petroleum
Mm.
also. But still, I think it's pretty crazy. I would like to time travel and just to feel how it is living in the old times because of the lighting. They, I think they most time lived in complete darkness. Because a candle, how long is a candle? It's like about a few hours, right?
Though how big a candle? I mean, we have some big candles in our house that you can burn for a week. I mean, for a
Uh,
couple of hours in the nighttime, you
mm,
like distinguish it, not extinguish it,
mm,
and then you light it up again the next night. And I
huh.
mean, that's one of the good things about living in modern time, that you can, if you wish to experience the earlier ancient times, you can go to the countryside, buy yourself a huge stack of candles, get yourself a good book, and like isolate yourself for a week. I
So,
think it could be a good
so
experience.
you're saying I don't need any time traveling, you know?
No,
Like,
you don't need time traveling. You just need a week's vacation.
or maybe I don't even need to go anywhere. I just can make these lights all out and just light a candle. Well, it's pretty dark, I would say. A candle is not very light, you know? Like, I
Yeah.
remember when electricity went out sometimes at my home, we light a candle and we couldn't see anything. Like, people used to live in very dark times.
I think they just burned a lot of candles.
Huh.
Have you like seen like some temples that they have like tens of like almost 100 candles in the room?
Huh. You know, I'm really doubtful about that because nowadays candles are expensive, right? So, but
Yeah,
they're pretty easy to make because we have industrialization. In old times, they should have been even more harder to make and should be even more expensive, right?
you know what they burned for like small light? They burned little kindles, like a little kindle wood. It
Mm.
was like a very skinny piece of wood that you sort of balance on another stick, and you light one end of it, and it gives you light. And it was very simple as that. If you don't have a candle, you burn like a little small piece of wood.
Yeah, but it has like smoke. But I guess that's okay. You just do ventilation. Yeah, like old times really sucked. I think, like really hard. Like even in like industrialized places like London, like 100 years ago, it
Oh,
completely
yes.
sucked. Like I'm reading a lot of Sherlock Holmes, and it's during that time period, and it's really fascinating because they're explaining life during that time how it was to go from one place to another. They had train. At later times, they also had like this wire, like telegraph wire,
Hmm.
and it was very high technology. It was the top technology, which is very really impressive. The transatlantic telegraph, 100 years ago was a thing, so they could send information from New York to London. Imagine how
Wow.
high tech that is, like 100 years ago.
And
That's
they did
amazing.
it by wire.
Wire, yeah,
Yes.
very long wire, basic copper wire. And because it was so long, they had a lot of problems with noise, but they managed to figure it out and could send stuff. and there were a lot of telegraph wires, even between the cities, and so they had two really big, cool technologies. They had the train and they had the wire, and it's pretty amazing.
I mean, industrial era in London, I think it was very dark and difficult because it was the beginning of like metallurgy, and there were a lot of heavy pollution in cities. They didn't realize how much they polluted rivers by dumping all the residue in the rivers, and like the diseases that people get when they start living so close to each other. And it was like very early times of like decent medicine. I don't know when the first like antibiotics were made, but it's I think it's even scarier than living in like Middle Ages.
Yeah, and I think even nowadays in let's say poor countries or more like underdeveloped countries rather than poor, they're not very good at like cleaning up their mess. And a lot of problem is also with people like here. It like it's just it disgusts me so much when I'm like working, I'm looking from office window and I see a guy like down by the street like smoking and like smokes like real big tough guy, fat, like in a suit, like really important. You can see he's like so important, and then he takes his cigarette, just drops it to the ground and just goes away. I'm like, come on, like I want to like punch him in the face, like why people keep doing that? I hate it so much. Like that's just so
Yeah. Have you seen like bus stops now that the snow has melted? You walk alongside the bus stop and it's like full of cigarette butts, full of like little pieces of plastic.
my best idea which I had was uh, for each cigarette butt you can get, let's say, 30 cents. And if you sell like tobacco, which has like 20 cigarettes, then it has an added tax of €6. And if you keep all of those cigarette butts and hand it back in, you get those €6 back. It's like a deposit, but for cigarette ends. And anybody can pick those up and give it back and get the money. So it's incentivizing collecting them. That's my idea.
Can I show you a story
Okay.
that I saw some time ago?
Sure.
I don't know if I shared this with you, but so there was this article about that the Swedish firm deploys crows to pick up cigarette butts.
Okay.
So the wild birds carry out the task as they receive a little food for every time butt that they deposit in a bespoke machine designed by a startup in that city near Stockholm.
I think this is going to be really slow.
So there's this machine that where the crows put the cigarette butts, and it dispenses with some little food. And as you know, crow and raven are very smart birds, smart animals. And just by making this machine, they trained crows to clean up streets from cigarette butts. It's a very nice story.
It's amazing. Like I can't believe it. Seems unbelievable. Yeah. Do that.
Keep Sweden Tidy Foundation says that more than 1 billion cigarette butts are left on Sweden's streets each year, representing 62% of all litter. That's very much.
Yeah.
He estimates his method could save at least 75% of costs involved with picking up cigarette butts in the city. I mean, these birds are as good at reasoning as a human 7-year-old, making them the smartest birds for the job.
I guess I have to save up some money and get this startup going in Riga. I think that's something I could do.
What startup?
Well, this startup, just call those guys up, figure out what they're using, the technology, and either open up a franchise or just figure out my own stuff. Like, shouldn't be like patented or something.
Hey, if you need companion, I can help you. Like,
Oh, yeah, because it's a really big, it's a big problem. Even there are like these new type of cigarettes like IQOS things, and like in the IQOS thing, you can put back the smoked like cigarettes in the box. It's kind of made that way, so you don't have to throw them on the ground. But like still, people do that. I'm like, come on, like,
how do you think? How do you know that it's made to put the cigarettes back?
well,
I think the cigarette still stinks when you put it back inside. I don't think the people want that.
well, okay. Let's just go to the next
As a
topic.
smoker, I can sort of relate to that because I wouldn't put a smoked out cigarette butt inside a fresh packet. Okay, because I've done that, and the whole packet then stinks, and the packet is in your pocket, and your pocket stinks, so you stink even more. But you stink anyway because you smoke. So
Well, I have to figure out some kind of a better solution, I think. But there's, okay. Well, that's just depressing. So another topic on the depressing news is that, like, I was. Do you know about the economic crisis in Sri Lanka?
oh no, I haven't heard about it.
I guess I can tell that story more in depth another time. But I was like figuring some things about this country and so why they have such a big economic crisis. And I found it interesting they have very beautiful nature, very beautiful beaches, but they also have a lot of litter on their beaches. They just dump all the shit there because they don't care about the beauty, and the foreigners have to come and clean it up because the locals they just don't care. That's at least some story that I got. Also similar like in Dubai, they got a desert, and all the Dubai desert I think is littered. Of course, obviously not all the desert, but a lot of the desert.
I'm guessing it's a very convenient way to dispose trash because the desert is huge and the sand dunes they shift from time to time, and you can like bury a lot of trash in desert
Yeah.
because no one goes in the desert. Like, it reminds me this like little quote from Wall-E. Have you seen that anime movie?
Yeah, I liked it.
Wall-E. Yeah, and there was like there's plenty of space up in space. So all the people started throwing their trash out in space.
Yeah, well, we might have this problem. Okay, kind of picking, I think, some of the last topics because we have like a lot.
Yeah, we can sort of round this up. What time is it?
Okay.
I can't see my clock.
Yeah, I think we'll slowly end it. Okay, so I have a trick question for you. You're on a like let's say a internet, and you see this pop up. What do you do?
What's the reason? Why did this pop up? So
Well,
to speak.
let's
What's
say
my destination?
well, let's say you were researching stuff for the Ukraine war. You want to know what's happening. You want to find, let's say, some map with all the where are the forces, and you go to this one website, and then you go to this other website, research some pictures, and then this stuff happens. And what do you do?
Okay. It looks very much like a Google login page, and I'm guessing it's not because you said it would be a trick question. I mean, like, to be totally honest and a bit stupid, let's say I would maybe write my email.
Well, so this is a new type of virus. So it pretends to be a browser window. So this is not a real browser window. It's just a
Okay.
picture. So it takes a picture which looks like a browser window. So it's just like a background picture, and it looks like a place where you can insert some text. When you can insert that text, but the other parts of it are not real, and that's how it steals your password. So you just insert it. So it pretends that it's a window inside another window, but it's not a new window. It's just the same window. And when you look at this URL, Well, it's just a picture. It's not the real URL.
And you can't change it. I mean, when you click on forgot email, nothing happens, right?
Yeah, nothing happens exactly, and also
Okay.
you can't move the window. It's just like a new kind of a virus.
So I have a little story, but I won't tell it. But the short version is that I almost gave up my credit card information to some sort of scam. And at the very last moment when I was calling them and they were asking for my security number, I had this like light bulb moment and like, what the fuck am I doing? Like,
Oh,
I almost fell for it and like I put down the phone immediately. And so I went back and researched the page, and I've seen this a couple of times after that experience. So they have this landing page, for example, and they have all these sort of other links to some. Let's say, for example, it's a news page, and there's a news article, and then there are some other news articles, and once you start clicking on those other sort of links and article selections, it goes nowhere. It opens nothing, or it or goes to dead end or to an error, and that's how you know that the landing page is fake. It's meant to like exploit you and maybe get your email address or some credit card information.
but wait, what website was this? It's like some.
I
Like,
forgot. It was some website. It was
but what were you
I don't
trying to
know.
do? Like order something, like internet shop or?
Oh no,
Uh,
it's much more embarrassing than that. No,
okay.
it was like there was this algorithm that calculated how you can get small percentage of like Bill Gates money or something
Ah,
like that. And
okay.
I was much younger than I am
Ah,
now,
so it's
so
like a long time ago.
it was a long
Okay,
time ago,
that's
yeah.
good.
Yeah, so
Okay. All
and
right.
it made sense, and so I got to the page, and yeah, and I've seen this kind of page a bit later in life, not that not like not that long ago, and I had the same feeling like maybe this is fake, and I started clicking on these links, and they went nowhere, and so I understood like no, this is a fake page, like go away.
Okay. Alright, so let's put these on the next week. Maybe we can also edit them a bit next week, what we will cover and what we won't cover out of those. It was really nice, like discussion topic. I think we can easily have like 2 discussion topics.
Yeah, we did this some time ago that we have like small news topics and then we have like big discussion topics. This is because it's very good practice for like English speaking.
Okay, I'm clicking stop.